Welcome to the North Phoenix Suburban Stead. My name is Rich. In this episode, we're going to fix this Hunter Douglas blind. We've broken down the process into 3 steps. Step 1, identify. What's the problem? What product do you have? What parts do you need? Step 2, what are the tools you'll need? Disassembling and then fixing. And step 3, we'll finish. That's reassembling, testing, and making any adjustments necessary. So this is a Hunter Douglas blind, and I've got a problem with it. It won't raise correctly. Only one side is lifting up. So hopefully you can see that. I've got the lights off in here to give you the silhouette so you can see there is, if you see there's a line right here. This line is the rope or the tape, whatever you want to call it. It's attached to the clutch rod up there and it comes all the way down to the bottom piece here. This one is missing on this side. And you see that there is no, you can't see a silhouette, but then you can start to see something right here. And what that tells me is that that tape is ripped. So because it's ripped, we need to replace that from the bottom there all the way up to the clutch spool. We need to put new tape in. And that's basically the problem. All right, let's get to it. It's important to identify the type of blind that you have. This one happens to be a Duette and Applause EasyRise Honeycomb shade. And I've got the field manual, even though this is well over 10 years old. When I flip to the page where it talks about the parts that we'll need, it also told us what's the problem. So for instance, on this one, it is the broken lift tape. What I need is the tape spool assemblies. Once you have this information, meaning you know what model it is, you go right to the Hunter Douglas website, choose the model, and make the request for parts. Here's what the spool assemblies look like. This is an older bag where I've done this before, but here's the model number for this particular blind. These are the spool assemblies and a couple other parts that we'll need. This particular Hunter Douglas blind has 3 brackets that are holding it on the top. One over here, in the middle, and on this side. To take it off of these brackets, I need to first take the front part of that top rail off of the hooks on the bracket. Once I do that, I'm just gonna snap it. Once it comes off, I'm just gonna roll it, take it off the back hooks, and then we'll bring it down. That side's already off and off. You can see I just curled it and bring it down. So now let's take this blind and we're gonna scrunch it up and then put rubber bands on it. And the reason we're gonna scrunch it is because it's too difficult to feed the line all the way from the spool assembly at the top on the clutch all the way down to the bottom. So we're gonna compress it, we're gonna scrunch it, and that way we can feed the line through easier. Let's get started. So I have the blind laying on the ground and I'm looking right through the honeycomb. And it's a little hard to see, but there is, let me see if I can zoom in. There it is, fraying. There it is, okay. Fraying, fraying more, and broken. That's what we need to fix. I do need to remove that piece, but we'll remove it from the bottom. We're looking at the bottom rail here, and it's this piece right here that the tape, you can see a little piece of it is coming through. Those are two plastic pieces, one that goes on the inside and the other one you feed the tape through. What you'll notice is how short that is, and that's unfortunate. That's the original installer had cut that really, really short. If it was a little bit longer, I would be able to just pull it and that piece would pop right out. But because it's so short, I'm gonna have to pick at this to get it out. So when we go to install this, help yourself and leave yourself what I call the tape tail. So here you'll see I've got the piece now, and I'm bringing it out and I'm pulling it out. I can feel it catching on those ripped fibers. And there it is. Looks like some of it may even kept getting caught, but that's it. Okay, go ahead and pull it. Perfect. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Drop that.
You done with me?
So once you have it all scrunched up, you want to maintain this. I've used zip ties before, but it's easier with rubber bands. You'll see I did that on the other side too. I'm going to put another rubber band on it just to hold the pulley mechanism and keep that away. Keep everything nice and together. Awesome. For this particular blind, the system, the lowering and the raising system is called an EasyRise. This is an end cap, and what I mean by the end cap is that on one side it gives you access to the clutch assembly. This is the opposite side. There are no screws here. So we need to go to the other side to take the cap off, remove the clutch assembly, meaning it's on the cord side that you use to lower it and raise it. So here we are on the cord loop side. That's what they mean by this piece. This is the clutch assembly piece right here, and this is the pulley system to raise it and lower it. This is your clutch rod. This is the spool where the tape is broken, and you can see there's nothing on the spool there. And as we come down the other one, you can see that there is some tape there. So we need to take the clutch rod out. We need to take that spool assembly out and replace it with another one. Now to do that, we're on the end here, we need to remove the clutch assembly. So to be able to do that, let me zoom in here. To be able to do that, we just need to take off those two screws. Sorry for the camera shaking. So behind here is the clutch, and take these two screws to take off this end cap. And that provides us access to the cord pulley. A couple of things here. So this is where the cord that you pull to move it up and down, and it moves this pulley and it turns this clutch rod, which in turn, that moves the spools, which are out of screen right now. I want you to notice here that on this clutch rod, move that fuzz, there are 3 tiny grooves. Let me see if we can zoom in and get those. So these are the 3 grooves that we're talking about. 1, 2, 3. One of them is smaller than the other 2, or one of them is bigger than the other 2. I don't remember exactly which one, we'll figure it out. But it's important to know that because of the grooves in the spool assembly. You'll see that when we get to that part. To remove the clutch assembly, we just needs to be pulled out. So not too much force, it should come out pretty easy. And you'll see I'm grabbing it with my 2 fingers here and pushing with 1 finger up top, wiggling it a bit, and it comes right off. So see, that's the clutch assembly, and here's the clutch rod. Don't know if you can see, but those as the grooves. One of them is deeper and narrower than the other 2 grooves. That's important. And if you look down in the distance here, this is the spool assembly that we're going to replace. So we'll need to be able to slide this off and then slide the new one in and feed the line. But the way we're going to do that is we're going to take the whole clutch rod out. So before we just pull the clutch rod out, which will slide right through the spool assembly, if you come all the way down to the other one, you're going to see there's a clip. It's this white clip that holds it there and holds the clutch rod to the right distance to the spool assembly. So we just need to be aware of that when we pull the clutch rod out, that we might have to take the, hopefully the spool assembly will come along with it. So we can, so here's that clip that I was talking about, if you can see it. We might pull this whole rod through and we'll just slide right off. Yep. And there's our clip. Don't lose that. As we come through and the clutch rod is totally off. Put our fingers down and grab it, and we're gonna spin it that way, and the assembly should come right out. And there it is. So really simple. By the way, the same thing on the install. When I put it in there, right, it's just a twist back that way. Oh, that's tight now. Okay, back out. So what you can see now is there's a hole here. In the hole, you can see the fabric. So there's a hole in the metal, but then there's a hole in the fabric. Let's zoom in on that. So you can see that hole right there in the metal, and then there's a hole in the fabric, and that is what we need to feed the new line down through before we put the new clutch assembly back in. Here's the old clutch assembly, and you'll see that the tape was already connected that way. You don't have to redo the tape when you get the new clutch assembly. It comes already installed that way, and you'll see the piece coming out here on the bottom. What it also comes with is this piece, and we'll take these 2 pieces off of this. This is a piece that goes on the bottom. We work the tape through this piece, and then when we pull it through, it seats itself in there and tightens it all up. So it's a pretty simple process. The most challenging part is to get this piece of tape through that hole. Again, we'll zoom in here. But it's that hole that's actually really difficult because this is a fabric. Now, Hunter Douglas does ship with you with the spool. They ship with you this almost like a wire piece that you can put a loop through it so that you can feed it through. But it's really flimsy, meaning I just haven't found work. Maybe this is an older style blind and it's thicker walls or there's a lot of fraying in there. It just doesn't work, so I use a paper clip. Let's zoom back out and go ahead and feed this through. First thing on the paper clip is open the whole thing up. I've done this quite a few times, so let me share with you a tip that I do with the paper clip. You'll see that it is stronger than the one that they ship with you. And my idea, what I want to be able to do is loop that piece of tape through. So when I feed this down through that hole, I'm going to be able to pull it all the way through and be able to grab that tape. Now, in order to do that, because this is a little bit thicker, I actually will take this and reshape it. And I want to make that a little bit of a tighter than what it was when I first opened the paper clip. And And the reason for that is because I don't want it to snag, or I don't want it to open up that hole. I don't want it to make it any thicker if it doesn't need to be. So I'm gonna feed my line through here, and we'll feed this back through, come out on the bottom, tie it off, set the spool, and we'll be good to go. The spool assembly comes with this rubber band, so be careful when you do take it off. What you don't want to do is have the spool unravel. I do need some of that tape to be able to feed it through the paper clip. So I'm going to put the rubber band back on so it just stops the spool from spinning while I'm feeding this thing through. Just like that, and that's fine. Let's feed the tape through our homemade paper clip thing. And that's it. And pull a little bit more tape here. Okay, now I need to feed it through the hole. So we're going to give this a shot. Now be patient with this because it could be stuck in there. There could be some fabric, it's not all lined up. There could be some other things in the way. Maybe pull it and loosen it a little bit. But just keep working through there. I felt it. It actually needed to just get through. So let me flip this over so you can see, and there it's starting to come out. And you want to be careful, make sure that that loop is still there. Make sure you're going to pull the paper clip or whatever you're using all the way through. So I'm going to push it through. And I'm going to grab it here with the pliers just to help me with a little bit of leverage. Kind of wiggling it, and there it is. And we're through. All right, let's flip this back over and we'll put the spool in. So remember we talked about when I remove the other one, I want to try to remove any twists that I have in here, that it does have this split. I'm not sure what you call that piece, but that's the piece that's going to be flexible. So when I pull this through and I pull this down to seat it, and twist it, get it right over the hole. Well, maybe we'll twist it the other way. Let's twist it this way. And just get it seated, and you'll hear it kind of click in. There it is. Now we're in. So I still have the rubber band on here, but I kept that on there just because when I've done this before, it has unraveled on me. So now I bring scissors with me and we'll just cut this off. So you'll see I've got the spool assembly is working well. Let me just make sure that it's good there, that it's spinning. When I pull it, it is. Perfect. So let's flip this thing over now. And this is a tip, and I've learned this the hard way. If you remember when I showed it to you, actually, let's take a look at the other one, the other side. So this is the other side, and if you see this piece here, it's really small, meaning it's just a little tiny piece of tape that's left through that. You want to leave a larger piece of tape. So here's what got shipped. We've got this piece that seats in the actual metal bracket here, and then we're going to feed the tape through this piece and it's going to seat its way through, which means we have to feed the tape through this piece. But the point I want to make here is don't cut that tail off so short. Leave it long so you can grab it easier next time and you don't have to pick at it to try to pull this thing out. In other words, be kind to the next person, which will likely be me. Okay, we're back at the bottom again. And this is the piece that gets shipped. We just need to take these pieces off. So the first thing we'll want to do is feed the tape through the bottom end. Remember, This piece is gonna sit down inside there. Actually, you know what? We've gotta pull that freaking thing off. Totally forgot that. Let's see if we can do this without mangling it too bad. Actually, we can probably still use this piece, but you know, now that I just wrecked it, I'm gonna pull it off. I'm gonna mangle it even more. Yeah, I probably should have done this either before I put the tape through or just used this one that was in there. It looked like it was in fine shape. In other words, I don't want to wreck the tape. Let's see if I did okay here. And it looks like I may have wrecked it a little bit, so I'm going to pull more through. Okay. So remember that this piece is going to sit in there like this. So we want to feed the tape from the bottom there. And we can seat that piece. Now we've got this thing. And this is going to be more difficult than feeding it through the paper clip. But you want to come through this in 3 different times. So you want to come, all right, so I've got it through the top one. I want to come back through without twisting it through the middle one. Feed it through. And then back through the bottom one, again without twisting it. Here it is. All right, now at this point, you're going to be tempted to cut the tape right there. Don't do that. Leave this thing. That's what I call the tape tail. And so now I want to get that spool spun back up and tight where it grabs, where it sucks in this tab into the seat. I'm going to do this. Let's zoom back out so we can make sure we get a better view here. So I'm just spinning the spool assembly with my finger on the other side as I pull it back in. And watch how it seats here. You want to make sure there's no tangles. Just have it come right in. And you'll even see it, you'll feel it. You'll feel it come in, and then I push it in just a little bit. And you'll see now I've got this tape tail, or what I call a tape tail. So that tape tail, that's something that I've learned the hard way. So I leave this on here again for the next guy, to be kind for the next guy. So I'm just taking a piece of tape here and I'm going to tape it to the bottom of the blind. No one's going to see it. It's going to be staying there. You know, I don't know why that's sitting up. So I'm just going to put a piece of tape over that. And on the end. Again, that's all just to be kind for the next guy. All right, now we're going to flip it back over and we're going to put back in our clutch rod. So remember I mentioned earlier that there are 3 grooves on the clutch rod, and one of them is deeper and narrower than the other 2. So hopefully you can see that. That's important because inside the spool assembly, I'll show you a close-up here in just a second, it has the same configuration. You want to make sure you get that right. So here's a close-up of the spool assembly. To show you those 3 grooves, you'll see I've got this configured pretty good here, that the longer one and the thinner one is already on the bottom and the other 2 in the upper right. So when I feed the clutch rod back through, I want to make sure that I've got the right grooves lined up. All right, so I'm going to help myself out here. That's the longer thinner or the deeper groove. So this one is going to go right on top, meaning I've got the corresponding tab on the spool assembly pointing down. So I want to make sure this is down, so I drew a line to make sure that it is up so I can see it. So here you'll see I'm lining it up. And I'm in. Okay, so here we are with the clutch rod going into the other spool assembly, the one I did not replace because it was not broken. And if you remember, there was this clip that we took off the clutch rod. So I'm going to put that back on here before I slip it through this next spool assembly. Make sure I get visibility to my line. And I've lined up my spool where I've got the longer, deeper tab on the spool assembly lined up with the right one on the clutch rod. And then push it all the way through. Okay, so I'm ready to put on the clutch assembly to the clutch rod. That's this piece here that we took off, and I need to slide that on. Now, when I do this, you'll see it has those same 3 tabs that go into the same 3 grooves on the clutch rod. Now, I want to be able to get this lined up to the best that I can, as close as I can, where these 2 components here are facing down. So it'll go on this way, well, this way. To be able to spin that to make sure that I have it lined up appropriately, I'm just going to pull the cord. And you'll see when I pull the cord, and that looks about right, meaning that this is my bottom, that's my longer one. Let's see if I can go ahead and just get this on here. It might take a little bit of there we go, I got it. Okay, let's get a close up on the other side. All right, so I moved the camera position here because I want to show you this piece, that this has created some frustration for me before. And it's this bottom piece here. This goes above that piece, or it goes above that metal piece there, but it goes below this inner piece here, and it sits right in. When you do this, though, you want to make sure that you don't catch the fabric here and scrunch those pieces up. So let's see if I can just finagle it, be patient with it. And you'll see it, there it is, it slid right in. I'm going to make sure that these are down. Do the other on the other side. And we'll slide that right in. All right, we're good. All right, so I'm not replacing the cord on this one, but I have done that before. These are either ripped or there's a new style. And what I want to be able to do, you'll see these grooves here. So we've got these grooves, and I'm going to slide it into this groove, and then I want to turn the clutch where both of the ropes, well, one rope comes out here and the other one comes out here. Hope my hand wasn't in the way on that filming. So you'll see you just pull these through. Good on that one. And as I spin this, then it fits right through. So you'll see one in the back there, one in the front, and it just took me spinning it and making sure I had the rope in those grooves. That's why they're there. All right, let's reassemble. Get my cap. All right, we're good to go. Let's go hang this baby up and test it. Okay, so here we go. Now this cord to raise it and lower it is a little bit of an older style. I don't know if you can see there, but there's a hole right there in this piece, and that goes on to one of the brackets here, and it creates tension on the line. I've got to be able to clip that in this way, and then roll it up. So before I put this all the way up there, that's what I'm going to be doing over here on the right. And even before I do that, let's take off the rubber bands, or at least the rubber band on this side that was holding this in the way. Okay, so here's the clip, and it goes up, in and up. So let's hope that that stays there. So get it into position. So just like when we took it off, we're going to hold it. Yep, it came off. Hold on. Okay. So we're going to hold it horizontally and get it onto the metal piece, onto the bottom of those clips. Man, that feels a little tough there. Okay, got it on that side. So I just lowered the blind a little bit because it seemed to be getting caught on the fabric on the lower part of those clips. Now that I have it resting on those three, I just curl it up, make sure it clicks into place. You can hear it and you can feel it. And let's hope that we got this thing right. All right, it looks good so far. It may be a little bit uneven. Can make some adjustments, but let's make sure at least it raises and lowers. And raises. Huh. Okay, we'll make some adjustments here. So let's leave that crooked for a minute and we'll fix that right up. So if you saw there, it was pretty crooked when it was coming up and down, and that happens every once in a while. And the reason is because I just didn't get the lengths correctly on the spool. So I made some adjustments to the length of the tail. Remember, we talked about the tape tail and leaving a bunch out there so you can either make adjustments or next time you need to repair it for the next guy. Well, the next guy was me, and it was immediately the next day to try to get it level. So it's still a little bit crooked right now, but we're leaving it as it is. We're okay with that. And it's fully operational now, up and down. So we're gonna end this video. Thanks a lot for watching. For more videos like this, check out the North Phoenix Suburban Stead. Give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We've got more of these coming, more HD blinds actually coming too, because we've got more to repair. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye.